Hi, my name is Jun Castro from Planades, and I am the GIS specialist for this DOST shared funded research on the formulation of a settlements development model for new growth areas in the Philippines. I will be serving as your resource person for Module 3 on Geographic Information System and Spatial Analysis. Now, Module 3 will highlight the importance of Geographic Information System in its various applications in planning, specifically urban planning, and how it can be used for effective decision making. It will be composed of two parts. The first part is a short lecture, an overview of GIS, and the second part is a hands-on activity using a GIS software to solve a specific spatial problem. Now we have three objectives for this particular module. Number one is to understand the basic concepts, principles, and applications of GIS in planning. Number two is to develop basic skills in using GIS tools and ArcGIS software. And number three, to conduct spatial analysis using ArcGIS. Now, Module 3 is composed of two parts. The first part is lecture, an overview of geographic information systems and its applications in urban planning. And the second part is a hands-on activity using ArcGIS software. Now we have two modules for this hands-on activity. Module 1 is basic ArcGIS tools, and Module 2 is site suitability analysis. Now for the requirements for this course, you need the following. Number 1, you need to have a desktop or laptop computer in order for you to do the hands-on exercises. Now for the computer, I suggest that you have a fast processor, preferably Intel Core i3, i5, i7, or AMD Athlon or Ryzen, preferably with more than 2 GHz processing speed, and at least 2 GB of RAM. Now for the software, you need to install the following software: ArcGIS, PDF Reader, and any file extractor software. It could be 7-zip, WinZip, WinRAR, etc. Now for the ArcGIS, for those of you who doesn't have any ArcGIS software installed in their laptop or desktop computers, what I can suggest is, since most of you are members of Facebook or have a Facebook account, what I suggest or recommend is for you to search a particular Facebook group. The name is ArcGIS ArcMap Software Group. So you just search for this particular group, and then once you have joined the group, you will find a lot of information where to download an ArcGIS version 10.x software. So I suggest you use Facebook, search for ArcGIS ArcMap Software Group, and once you have joined the group, sift through the group thread and download the ArcGIS software. Now, number 3, for the hands-on activity, you also need to download data sets and the step-by-step instructions in PDF format. You can download these from this Google Drive link indicated in red. And number 4, participants should have at least basic skills on computer use. However, knowledge in any GIS software is not a prerequisite, which means that even if you don't have any experience in using a GIS software, you can still attend this training course. Now, if you enter the particular Google Drive link, what you get is this snapshot. Okay. So you have here the Google Drive contents. As you can see, there are several folders of the different modules. For module 3, the datasets can be downloaded if you click module 3, GIS and spatial analysis, and then click lecture materials again, and then it will show you module 1, basic ArcGIS tools, and module 2, site suitability analysis. So there are 2 folders or files inside lecture materials. So what you do is to right click your mouse, right click on one of the zip files, for example module 1, right click and then click download from the selection window. Okay, so a selection window will appear, and then just click or select download for you to download the zip file of module 1, basic ArcGIS tools. Now you do the same process to download module 2, site suitability analysis. So once you have done that, once the files are downloaded, you can extract or unzip the zip files using your file extractor software. Then you copy the unzipped files to your computer desktop. Now, as shown here you have module 1 and module 2 folders already unzipped. Now, next, what you need to do is to create a new folder named DOST_GIS modules. Then you transfer the 2 unzipped files to the newly created folder. Okay, so you have DOST_GIS modules, and inside this folder you have the 2 modules, module 1 and module 2. So your module 1 and module 2 folders contain the datasets as well as the instructions in PDF format. So I hope that you already have an idea on what to expect in this module. So without further ado, let us start with the lecture part. So let's start off with this short lecture on the overview of Geographic Information System in urban planning. When we talk about GIS, we are essentially talking about data. Data or information is essential to the planning, the delivery, and management of infrastructure and social services. Data is necessary to, number 1, understand patterns and trends. Number 2, locate suitable areas for activities and facilities. Number 3, to ensure safe operations. And number 4, to respond to incidents real time. Now, data is indispensable to support higher levels of decision making. However, the current practice of decision making needs a lot to be desired. Decision making is limited to certain individuals, usually politicians, gathered around a small table, usually with drinks or alcohol, in a small room. Typical conversation is what is shown. Another decision-making style is shown on the right, whereby a hippo, or the highest paid person's opinion, is doing all the decisions by himself, without taking into consideration other alternatives or options which are supported by data. So, as the slides show, let data drive decisions, not the hippo. Now this graph shows what decision making should be in the future. From the current practice of hippo-dominated decision making, the path for future success will depend on a data-dominated decision making style, which implies that we need to increase the use of data analytics to support decision making. Now there are two ways to describe any object in our world. Number one is spatial information or location data. An example of this information is the latitude and longitude coordinates, or the northings and eastings as shown. And number two, attribute or non-spatial information, which further characterizes or describes the object. So you have two sets of data. One is spatial information and the other one is non-spatial or attribute information. Now the location and attribute information is stored inside your computer. And a GIS software links the two types of information together. It uses a map to display the location information and a table to display the attribute information as shown. Now there is a constant link between the location and attribute information. For example, when Manitoba is highlighted on the map, as shown in yellow, it is also highlighted in the table. Now this is the most basic function of the GIS software. Now to further expand the discussion, these are the typical data types in a GIS database. First is spatial data. These are data that can be displayed, manipulated, and analyzed by means of a spatial attribute, normally in the form of coordinate points, or your longitude, latitude, your northings and eastings, or your XY coordinates. And another one is attribute data, which relates to characteristics of the real world, and this includes demographic characteristics, socioeconomic data, infrastructure data, and so on. So for instance, if we have land parcel data, as shown on your right, this can be described using spatial information showing the location of that particular land parcel on the map, and using attribute data, which indicates the owner, the value, the land use, and type of zoning of that particular piece of land. Another example is infrastructure data, such as types of utilities, broken down into water, electricity, telephone, and transportation systems, like your road network, the traffic flows, and so on. Now we go to our formal definition of what a GIS is. So a GIS is just a computer-based technology designed to capture geographic data from various sources and process and analyze this data to produce information and graphical outputs. So you have four essential tasks: capturing or collecting data, processing the data, analyzing the data, and produce useful information and graphical outputs. And everything is done in support of planning or management and decision making concerning the utilization of resources. Thus, a GIS is used as a planning tool to come up with better decisions. As we've said a while ago, a GIS links your location and attribute information together and enables a person to visualize patterns, relationships, and trends. This process gives an entirely new perspective to data analysis that cannot be seen in a table or list format. Now you need to have 5 components in order for a GIS to work properly. These are your hardware, your software, your data, people, and methods. Remember that this is a system, and if one component fails, the whole system will fail. Now for the components of the GIS, first we have the hardware. So the hardware is the computer and the peripherals on which the GIS operates. So the computer may be operating in isolation or in a network configuration. Next is your software. Your software provides the functions and tools users need to store, analyze, and display geographical information. Third is data. Data is probably the most important component of GIS. It is absolutely essential that data be accurate. And later on, we will be talking about the different data types. So the fourth one is people. Of course, a software will not be working, or you cannot use the software without involving people. So people are the ones who collect the data, who process the data, who analyze the data, and turn the data into useful information. And the last one is methods. So these are just well-designed plans and applications or specific business rules describing how the technology is applied. So this includes guidelines, specifications, standards, procedures. Again, let me reiterate that this is a system, and if one component fails, the whole system will also fail. A simple analogy is your digestive system, which is composed of your mouth, esophagus, stomach, intestines, rectum, anus. And if one of these organs fail, then the digestive system fails, which would eventually lead to your death.